Good morning, everybody. It is wonderful to see you again, to be with you again. And we're going to be continuing our reflection on the family today. And in particular, we're going to be talking about grandparents. How cool is that? Now, I don't know what you call your grandparent or what your children call your parents. Is it nanny, nana, grandma? Grandpops, gramps, grumps, granddad. I remember I think I was about 3. I remember there was a song, wasn't there? Granddad, we love you. Do you remember that one? And then there's another one. Do you remember it? Grandma, we love you. Oh, they bring back some great memories, even though I must have been about 2 or 3 when I heard them. What do you call your grandparents? I tapped in the word grandmother in the Bible to try and find out sort of, what I can talk about today, really, from the Bible. And it only came up once, and that was in 2 Timothy chapter 5. And the word grandmother was actually the Greek word mammy. I wonder if you call your grandparents mammy. I wonder if that's where the word mummy comes from. I don't know. Maybe it is. But here in 2 Timothy chapter 5, Paul is writing to a young man named Timothy. And he was really encouraging him because he had shown this real genuine faith. And he gives credit not just to his mum Eunice, but predominantly to his grandmother Lois. So here this grandmother who was schooled in the Old Testament scriptures, probably faithful in prayer as well, discipled her child Eunice, but also discipled Timothy as well. And it said that because the faithfulness of this wonderful grandmother Lois, that Timothy was wise for salvation. I should imagine he knew the scriptures, so when the Messiah came, when Jesus said, I've come to fulfill, the Torah, he knew, actually, I know enough of these prophecies to see that Jesus truly is the Messiah. And this is why he was so wise for salvation. But it's interesting that Paul gives credit ultimately to Lois, because she's the one who passed her faith down. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that us as I'm not a grandparent yet, but I know there's some grandparents in their 30s. So it's not necessarily age related, is it? But how amazing that is that we can have the opportunity to pass our faith on to our children. Now, it's important to recognise that everybody's situation, circumstances are very different. I love it when I speak to most grandparents, they say, well, we just love it because we can enjoy the kids and then pass them back. And then you can relax. And it seems as though you don't have the same grace as you have when you're a parent bringing your kids up. Not unless you have to look after your grandkids because of your children or your children-in-law going to work. Then God will give you the grace in those moments. But I'm aware that there are some grandparents who sporadically see their grandkids because perhaps their children live far away, or maybe they're not Christian and you have limited contact with them. So you look for whatever circumstance you're in, you want to look for those opportunities to share your faith, to give some input, some Christian input into their lives, because we care for them. And just like Lois, we can learn from her, can't we, that we want to be faithful in prayer, we want to be faithful in the word, so that we can impart our faith to our children and ultimately their children as well. This brings me to a wonderful promise, a verse in Psalm 103, verse 17. It says, "From everlasting to everlasting, God's love is on those who fear him." So that just means God loves you when you put your faith in him. And it says his salvation or his righteousness will be on their children and also their children. So that's if you're a grandparent, if you're faithful, if you fear the Lord, his salvation will be not only on your children, but also on your grandchildren. What an amazing promise that is. So really that's an exhortation for us to be faithful in prayer, to be faithful, to fear the Lord, to love him, and look for those opportunities to pass our faith on to our children and ultimately to our grandkids. Now, that's not to say that every one of those will be saved, every one of those will grow up in the Lord. It's their responsibility to respond, isn't it? But I think we can do our part by being faithful to God ourselves, and faithful in prayer, faithful in the word, and looking for those spirit-led, spirit-filled opportunities to be like Lois, to be like Eunice, to pass on our faith to our children. But it has to be spirit-led. So if you're a grandparent, if you're a nanny, if you're a grandpops, whatever you are, be encouraged today. God can use you so powerfully within your family to impart your faith onto them, and looking for those wonderful opportunities to build the kingdom within your own family context. Anyway, that's enough from me for today. Don't forget to join us this evening at prayer. Tuesday at 7 tonight, Zoom room. And then at 7:30, we're going to be life group together at 7:30 on Zoom. So please come and join us this evening. Anyway, farewell and be blessed. Bye.